What's up, Planeswalkers? It's your boy K-Dog. Got another fun video for you guys. This is going to be taking a look at one I like to call Huatli's Web. So a little while back, another content creator that I follow had this deck idea based around the Spider Tribal, basically, and running Huatli, the Sun's Heart, to actually get value off of those spiders since they have low power and high toughness. Well, with Huatli, each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So that 3 and 4 toughness now all of a sudden becomes its power, basically, during combat. And the nice little -3 where you can gain life equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control. So, you can gain 3, 4, 5 life with this ability if it's necessary. Otherwise, you just probably want to keep Huatli on the battlefield as much as possible, just so you can get value off of her static. And yeah, so a bunch of spiders, and that was kind of the idea of the deck, and I kind of played around with that and built my own version, and I think it's done pretty well for me. So let's go through it real quick. So we're going to start off in the 1-drop slot with 2 Giant Killer. Is a 1/2, so having the toughness there is a nice synergy with Huatli. And then we can also pay 2 to tap a target creature. And instant speed, we have the chop down effect where we can destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Since we are pretty vulnerable to bigger, powerful creatures, Giant Killer fits in nicely with that theme because we can block a lot of the smaller creatures with less power. But when it comes to bigger creatures, that can be a bit problematic for us. Also in the 1-drop slot, we have 4 Chainweb Aracnirs. It's just the best 1-drop spider. 1/2 reach for 1, so that's pretty decent. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its power to target creature with flying and opponent controls. So there's several relevant targets that it can hit, like Spectral Sailor or Healer's Hawk. Things like that see tons of play, so this will definitely see get some value. And the escape ability is pretty nice in the mid to late game against removal heavy decks. Because then it comes back with 3+1/+1 counters, so it basically becomes a 4/5. So a nice aggressive creature there in the mid to late game. 2 Flower Flourish. So we are a little bit mana intensive, but we don't want to run too many lands, so we're just at 24. And the flower side basically allows us to do that and also stay on curve and to fix our mana in the opening turns, because we can pay 1 at sorcery speed to search our library for a basic forest or plains, reveal it, and put it into our hand. And if we draw this in the late game, since our creatures are sort of underpowered, we can give our creatures +2/+2 until end of turn, and then start attacking aggressively. And I'm going to run 1 Glass Casket, just to kind of give us a little bit of interaction for the more aggressive creatures. We do have lots of toughness to block, but sometimes there are creatures with abilities and things like that where we want to just get rid of them right away. And so just the 1 Glass Casket there. Destiny Spinner, that's a 2/3 for 2, so again, it's a nice toughness that synergizes with our deck. And also, creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. So we're not very enchantment heavy, but we do have enough that we could get some value off of its activated ability, which is to pay 3 and green. Target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature token, or just creature, sorry, with trample and haste until end of turn, where X is equal to the number of enchantments you control. Destiny Spinner itself is an enchantment, so it'll at least be a 1/1 if nothing else. As our 2-drop spider running Snarespinner, it's a 1/3 with reach, because all spiders have reach. Whenever it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So yeah, if it blocks a flyer, it becomes a 3/3. That's pretty sweet. 2 Banishing Lights just has nice utility removal. And our 3-drop spider is Netcaster Spider. It's a 2/3. And whenever it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So obviously there are some like 4 and 5 power toughness spiders you could run to get more synergy with Huatli. But I think just for consistency, I like the spiders that we're running. And especially with things like the first Iroan games. First time I tried this out as like a couple of, and then 3. And I had to bump it all the way up to 4 because it just works so well in this deck. First Iroan games is 2 in green. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. The following turn, you will get 3 +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. So you could put that on the soldier token, or most likely we're going to put that on one of our spiders. And the following turn, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw 2 cards. So as long as that creature that we put the counters on is still alive, boom, we get to draw 2 cards. And then the following turn after that, we get a gold token. So not always going to be relevant, but there's definitely times where having that extra bit of temporary mana, if you will allow us to do some pretty sweet stuff. So we see the two Huatli. So we're not all in on that sort of a strategy, but we definitely want to get some value off of it. And obviously, it being legendary, you don't necessarily want more than one of these at a time. So we're just going to run 2 because, yeah, mostly because of this card right here. The first Iroan games is so much more impactful. And moving up to the 4-drop slot, we're on 2 Elspeth, Sons of Nemesis, 2 white, for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. And the main reason we're running her is for her -1 to give 2 of our creatures +2/+1 until end of turn. So since we are, running a lot of underpowered creatures, we're dropping Elspeth, and now their power goes up significantly, and they still have their toughness intact. So that's pretty sweet. Or if we just need more creatures to chump block or whatever, we can -2 and create 2 1/1 white human soldier creature tokens. And if we're up against like a mono red or something like that, we might just want a -3 to gain 5 life. And of course, it does have escape, so it does have some nice value in the late game as well. Also in the 4-drop slot, we're going to run 2 Arasta. It's a legendary, so that's why just the 2 of for me. It's a Spider 3/5. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, we create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach. So this works really well against like counter spells, spot removal, things like that. And just to get more spiders and creatures on the board. And also in the 4-drop slot, we're going to run 2 Vivien Arkbow Ranger. Since we are mostly green, then this fits in just fine at being 1 green for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. And for +1, we get to distribute 2 +1 counters among up to 2 target creatures, and then they gain trample until end of turn. So it's another way to buff up our underpowered spiders and actually start presenting some real threats to our opponent. And depending on what kind of creatures our opponent has down, we can also -3 to target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker. So once we buff up our spiders, maybe even with like Elspeth or something, and we can use Vivien to then act as sort of a removal, and even works on planeswalkers, which is great. And then the -5, probably not something we're going to use very often. We're mostly just looking at the +1 and -3, but -5 just in case. It does become relevant, like if the game goes long. You can choose a creature card you own from outside the game, basically your sideboard, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And then finish up the 4-drop slot, we have 1 Ajani, the Greathearted. So 2 green-white. Creatures you control have Vigilance as its static ability. You can +1 to gain 3 life, so it works against red or aggressive base decks. But mostly we're going to want the -2 to put a +1 counter on each creature you control and a loyalty counter on each other planeswalker you control. So as you can see, we are running a good number of planeswalkers, so Ajani has great synergy there, and it's another way to increase the power of our spiders. Moving up to the 5-drop slot, we have a 1 of Elspeth Conqueror's Death, 3 white Saga. You exile target permanent and opponent controls with converted mana cost 3 or greater. So obviously there's plenty of sweet targets you can hit with this against most decks, but it doesn't always work against others, so it's a nice just as a 1 of for me. The following turn it comes out for its 2nd Saga is non-creature spells your opponent's cast cost 2 more to cast until your next turn. So against like mid-range decks and control decks, this can definitely screw up their plans a little bit. And then the 3rd Saga, we return creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and the creature gets a +1 counter, or the planeswalker gets a additional loyalty counter on it. So since we are a little bit light on creatures, Elspeth is another way to kind of get our creatures back, or planeswalkers, depending on where we're at in the game. And last but not least is 1 of Trostani Discordant. It's 3 green-white for a 1/4. So again, nice toughness there to synergize with Huatli. Other creatures you control get +1/+1. So So it's a nice anthem effect to have an additional way to buff up the power of our creatures. And when enters, we get 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens with lifelink. So against any other creature decks, mono red, things like that, this works really, really well. And also has some built-in protection against like an Agent of Treachery. As beginning of your end step, each player gains control of all creatures they own. And going over the mana base real quick. 5 plains, 9 forests, all 4 temple gardens, just 2 Temple of Plenty because we want to try to play on curve as much as possible and not having trying to minimize the tap lands. And then 4 Fabled Passage for the fixing, since we do have lots of double, triple green, double white, things like that. So just to make sure that we have the right mana when we need it. And going over the sideboard real quick. I'm running 2 of Gideon's Triumph. This works really well against like a Dream Trawler, Paras Druid that's hexproof, things like that. Since we're not running board wipes or anything, we need some way to protect ourselves. 2 of Hushbringer, the flying lifelink. It's a 1/2, so toughness could matter with Huatli down. And then creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cause abilities to trigger, so it really shuts down the sacrifice decks that might still be floating around, or any of those ETB triggers like elementals, things like that. And then even just like against aggressive like red decks, things like that, having the lifelink could be pretty sweet. And there are lots of relevant enchantments we'll want to hit, so we're going to run 3 of Return to Nature. It's a nice 2 mana instant, and also works against things like artifacts such as Embercleave, so definitely an important card in this particular format. And then 1 more Banishing Light for some utility removal. And Gideon Blackblade is just such an all-star against sweeper and control heavy decks. There's a 4 loyalty planeswalker for 3 mana, and on your turn it's a 4/4 human soldier creature token with indestructible, and you prevent all damage that will be dealt to it on your turn. And you can +1 to give one of your creatures vigilance, lifelink, or indestructible until end of turn. And if you get up to 6 or more, you can -6 to exile target non-land permanent. So just an outstanding 3 mana planeswalker. And so for certain matchups, we want a Questing Beast as a 2 of. Just has all the abilities that does all the things. So against other creature-based decks, might want to bring this in against certain creature decks where the Death Touch is relevant, or we just need to increase our power naturally and not rely on planeswalkers. The Haste against removal-heavy decks. If our opponent taps out, plays a sweeper, then we can just follow it up with a Questing Beast on our turn, and then just swing in for at least 4. And moving on here, we got 2 Shifting Ceratops against blue-heavy decks. As it's a 5/4 for 4 that can't be countered, and a protection from blue. And then it has a nice little ability of paying green to give it reach, trample, or haste until end of turn. And then as another hedge against creature-heavy decks, since our creatures are pretty underpowered, we're going to try 1 of God-Eternal Oketra. It's 3 white, legendary zombie god, double strike. So 3/6 double strike with Huatli. Basically means it's going to assign 6 as its combat damage, double striking. So that alone is pretty sweet. But whenever we cast a creature spell, we get a 4/4 black zombie creature, warrior creature token with vigilance. And then it has some protection here as a god, where whenever it dies or is put into exile, we can put it back into our library, 3rd from the top. So yeah, just a really sweet against other creature-heavy decks. So let's jump into some best of 3 and see how we do. Huatli's Web, and Arena Standard best of 3. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day wherever you're at. Alright, against Mythonomicon. Got the sweet Kaya avatar. Alright, we to go first. Hand's not great, but I don't think we can mulligan. We just have a turn 1 and turn 2 play, and we have each of our colors. So, and any land will give us Banishing Light. Alright, no pet on our opponent's side. Still rocking the sweet owl. Alright, let's get our spider down. Let's see what our opponent is up to. White. Okay, so if they play Healer's Hawk, oh yeah. And we can just kill it. And if we draw another land, we can take out their Ajani with the Banishing Light, so I don't think we need to hold back our Giant Killer. And I know they're not going to block, so let's just attack him. And then we'll hit him with the Aracnir. So it's not a fight effect, they're just dealing damage so they don't get the life. And then we'll just get our creatures down. Looks like we're just up against mono white life gain. Another Healer's Hawk. Okay, we do need to hit our land drops. Let's crash in for 3. If they want to chump block, lose their Hawk, that's fine with me. Let's flower, grab another forest since we are very green heavy. And next turn, if we draw land, we can Arasta, or we can just Banishing Light if they play like an Ajani's Pridemate, or maybe like a Linden, something like that. Not the best start from our opponent, so we're in a good spot. But obviously these decks can get out of control rather quickly. Okay, so they're Boros. Maybe this is like a feather deck. Dawn of Hope. That's not what I was expecting. I have seen this with Healers, Hawks, and Lindens, where they can just play a bunch of cheap creatures and then leave mana open to draw cards. Okay. Not drawing lands hurts. I think we'll attack first. And then Banishing Light the Dawn of Hope. I think that's the right play here. Don't want to give them any mechanism to start drawing cards and get back into this game. And if they do drop in a Pridemate, we'd have a Glass Casket. Otherwise, hopefully we hit our land drop when we can get Arasta online. With red, there's definitely the possibility of them having some instants and sorceries to get some value off Arasta. But we'll see. We haven't seen anything red from them yet. Our opponent reading through our cards. So I'm guessing they have some removal in hand. They're trying to figure out how to do it. We have some kind of a trick in hand. Okay, and attack first, and then obviously have something. Nope. Let's just keep playing out creatures. We have the Glass Casket for any 1, 2, or 3 drops they have. Okay, so we've seen all 4 Healer's Hawks. We're kind of winning the race. Man, we really need a land. I'm not going to waste the Glass Casket on a Healer's Hawk. It's not at this point of the game. One land of any kind would be great. Plains would be nice. But we just want to get these Arastas down to stop their Hawks. Wow. You're seriously playing Cosmotronic Wave? I'd like to get this Iroan games down, but I think we just want to deal with this Hawk that's enchanted and just kind of slow them down. And if we continue missing land drops, then we can play our Iroan games on the be one of the Spider, and then potentially target a Spider on the second saga, and then just leave it back as a blocker. missing land drops and our opponent's flooding out. Tempting to Elspeth, but I don't think we're there yet, so let's just attack and drop our Arasta. And that should slow them down, and then we can follow up with an Elspeth next turn, and we'll be in good shape. So yeah, Cosmotronic Wave is very curious. I'm not really sure. I mean, it makes my creatures unable to block. A Crowanor, that's a little it's a little devastating. So we will get our Arasta back on the third saga. Just Elspeth, make a couple 1/1s, and then we can use our giant killer to tap them down, as we'll have to attack next turn. Then we've got Elspeth that can buff our creatures, and if we draw another green source, we can Vivien. Yeah, not looking too good right here. At least get our Arasta back, so that'll be nice. They're going to attack in with their Healer Socks, and we can block them. Okay, we want to keep our Elspeth alive. So we're definitely going to make some blocks here. The Chainweb Aracnirs can block the Healer's Hawks, and then we can use a Soldier to block the Arasta if our opponent figures out what they want to do. I don't think they realize the Chainweb Aracnirs can block. I'll block there, block here, and block there. About to lose our creatures.
I will do my best to support you.
Could tap down the Hunted Witness, but I think I'd rather just Iroan games plus Chainweb Aracnir. Questionable block there, but I mean obviously to get the token anyway, but now we're in a decent spot. We just need to find our next another green source. Oh, that's right. Our Crown War doesn't say those creatures are destroyed, it just says they deal power equal to their toughness, so that works pretty well for me. Should be about game, although they can gain life off this token since it has lifelink. We have pretty easy blocks here. Let's tap them down. Give some buffs. And that's the game. Alright, so pretty aggressive deck on our opponent, and they were chipping away at us pretty good with those Healer's Hawks. So yeah, good game from our opponent. Alright, so Elspeth conquers death. What does that hit from them? The Crowan War was annoying, but it didn't seem like it really was too effective. So let's bring in Oketra, because that's going to be really sweet in this matchup. Didn't seem like they have any enter the battlefield effects. Banishing Light could be decent. Let me take out the Glass Casket for the other Banishing Light. So if we want to hit their enchantments or creatures, we have that option. Turn to Nature could be decent as well. And we had a pretty decent first matchup, so let's not change too much. And like we're probably still missing some aspect of what their deck is trying to do, so let's keep it to a minimum. And we have the first game advantage anyway. And then if it goes to game 3, then we'll have a better idea of how to sideboard accordingly. So some kind of a Boros aggro life gain. So we didn't see Pridemate, but it's got to be in their deck, I would imagine. I don't know if they're running things like Aurelia. That seems like that'd be really good for what they're trying to do. Yeah, Crow and War was curious. Our opponent lets us go first. Well, we do have 2 lands. We can get our Chainweb Aracnirs down. Unfortunately, we have a tapped green source. But if they got the Healer's Hawk plan again, then it should be fine. And now we just need to keep drawing lands like that. Perfect. So we can at least curve out to Huatli, and then we'll see where we're at from there. If they don't Healer's Hawk, we have a second Aracnir, and we can always just have it back as a blocker. Hunter Witness, sure. I think we just played both. Followed up with Huatli next turn. And if they want to attack in, just get their token, or maybe they have some combat trick, we'll make the blocks. And at this point we're just looking for more lands so we can get Oketra online as quickly as possible, and I'm pretty sure they're going to have a hard time dealing with that. Got the red source down early this time. Another Dawn of Hope, sure. I think we just attack in and force them to block or take 4. Say no block. I don't want them to have lifelink.
Tell me your story.
We take 1. We get in for 4. That's a much better deal than blocking, and then they get a 1/1 lifelinking blocker. Okay, so next turn, if nothing else, we can get our Destiny Spinner down. Mostly we're just looking for more lands. We can start chipping away at our Huatli, but that's fine. 7 loyalty. It's going to take them a little while.
No more of this.
And there's a 4th land. Beautiful. So we have 2 white to cast Oketra, and we just need another green source to get Vivien down.
I love everything from deer to dinosaurs.
With, counters.
I'd get out of the way
2,
if I were
3.
you.
Now with Huatli in combat, they become 3 3s. And yeah, we'll leave our Huatli loyalty nice and high. They can attack in for what, 3 here. And if we top deck and untap land, we get Oketra online. Otherwise, we can just probably Destiny Spinner. Okay, that's annoying, but Vivien can still use her ability to target it, so that's not a problem. We do have some Banishing Lights if we need to get rid of it. So if it goes to game 3, you might want to look at bringing in a couple more, couple Return to Nature so we can deal with all these enchantments. So if they attack Vivien, we can't minus to fight or deal damage actually. So that's probably the best route for them to take. You can always plus Vivien and put the 2 counters on the
Well, you're annoying.
Wow. On the Aracnir that's not enchanted. We'll just do that. Attack in for 5, put him at 5. And show them Oketra. Last turn. So unless they have some way to deal with Oketra, we can get our Destiny Spinner down, start making 4/4s. Okay, they got a couple of 1/1 tokens. And with 1 red mana, I don't think they have enough to survive here. They're just going to go face. We'll just block out the 1/1s. Alright, we got a 4/4. Let's put our counters on Oketra because that's going to be the most damage.
We're fit enough to survive.
And yeah, good game. So 8/8 double strike and a 5/5. Oh, do have chump blocks, but trample from Vivien is just a little too much. Alright. So that's a pretty fun deck. Hope you guys enjoyed, and look forward to seeing you. Sweet. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Alright, take care.